But bizarrely, his journey into the mysteries of light began with a tyrannical king and a troublesome river.
There's a long history of clever men trying to get work at powerful courts and governments. And the career of Alhazen fits perfectly into this kind of story. He was born in Basra in the 10th century. Now, he earned his living by each year copying out all the works in geometry of the great Greek mathematician Euclid and then selling those copies for cash. So his understanding of the behavior of straight lines and motion was really second to none. Alhazen found employment at the court of the slightly eccentric and extremely powerful caliph in Cairo, Al-Hakim. Al-Hakim encouraged learning and technique because he wished to control everything in the world around him. Everything. He simply couldn't stand the idea that there were elements in the world that he couldn't order around. And the River Nile, the source of all of Egypt's wealth, was something that the caliph really wanted to master.
The caliph ordered Alhazen to stop the Nile flooding. Failure would result in almost certain death.
Now, Alhazen, of course, lacked the modern technology of tide control and flood control, which many European cities now have. He knew when he was beaten. So he dreamt up a cunning plan. He would pretend to be mad, and in that way, perhaps, escape the caliph's wrath.
The plan didn't exactly work. Alhazen was thrown into jail and stayed in confinement for more than 10 years.
Sitting in the darkness, under police control, he began to meditate on what he could see and what he couldn't. He became obsessed with light and dark. Alhazen began to realize there was something wrong about the idea that we see because stuff comes out of our eyes and touches or grasps the objects in sight. Here's one obvious problem that occurred to him. Sitting in the darkness and then looking suddenly at the sun, his eyes really hurt. Staring at the sun was intensely painful after that time in the dark.
It seemed improbable to Alhazen that if rays were indeed emitted by the eye, that they should cause him such pain. He began to piece together an entirely different explanation.
Alhazen's big new idea was that we see because there are rays traveling through space in straight lines towards our eyes.
He had overturned more than 1,000 years of accepted dogma. But if light is independent of the eye, how do objects redirect the light into our eyes when we see them? Alhazen realized there was a clue in the way mirrors work.
Mirrors obviously reflect light, And by studying those patterns of reflection very closely, Alhazen was able to confirm the idea that the angle at which a ray hits the mirror is the same as the angle at which it's reflected. There's a symmetry there. It's as though a ball is striking a wall and then bouncing off. So there's a relationship between the idea of a light ray as a straight line and this fundamental understanding of the basic geometry of the law of reflection.
Alhazen had the genius to realize that light bounces like a ball off all objects, not just mirrors. He worked out the precise mathematical laws of light's most important properties, reflection and refraction. Laws on which everything depends, from spectacles to space telescopes. 12 years after locking Alhazen away, the Caliph died. Alhazen was freed. He began obsessively refining his ideas. His 7-volume work became the fundamental text on light and vision, insights which made the entire modern science of optics possible. Light was transformed. Governed by mathematical rules and laws, light was leaving the abstract world and entering the real one.